All right, sports fans. It's Marshall Atkinson, and we're here with our Q&A with Alan and Marshall show. And what's your name, buddy?
I don't know anymore. I don't know anything anymore. I'm Alan Howe with Easy Way.
And thanks for tuning in. It's another Friday. Congratulations, you made it. Woo! It's Friday. I've got my Friday shirt on, you know. I love it, right? And so we're so happy you're here. Thank you for watching and tuning in to the little show that could. And we feel that some way. We're chugging up the mountain. We're chugging up the mountain. We're chugging up the mountain. And I think, and we're going to talk about that in our show later. But I feel like our industry feels like way a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, a little discombobulated.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for
tuning in.
That
is a technical term, discombobulated too, I believe, isn't it?
Only if you're in the bobblehead industry. So Charles is here. Hey guys. And Richard's here. Richard, like the regulars, right? They're coming in.
Absolutely. We love the regulars.
So how was your week, buddy? You've been traveling, you've been working out of your house, you've been seeing people, what you've been doing?
Both. I was up in northern Michigan, which is all right. You know what? Good and bad. Like I said, it's just a weird week. We have a product we're testing. We got a product for auto squeegee cleaners like the M&R Quick Cleans.
Yeah.
Man, they tested it on July 2nd. Me and Alex, my boss, went up there. I went up and followed up. Working great. So
you're not making the machine, you're just doing the chemical, right?
Correct. In the quick clean. And this is a product that has to be rinsed, and there's a rinse cycle on it. And so just doing great. Working great. It is in half the time that the competitive chemicals are. So far, so good. I'm excited about that. When I go up into northern Michigan, I stayed, our family, I've said before, has a cottage that my dad and mom, when they were married, bought when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
We still have that. My brother owns it. Him and I owned it for a while. I've signed it over to him, but I still use it. And I just, there's no internet. There's no.
Well, that's what a lake cottage should be. It should be.
Yeah, we're not right on the lake. We're a block from it. But you know what? I went up there. It's not too bad. I can hotspot and, get YouTube and stuff like that.
The block, correct. I'll stand corrected. The block from the lake cottage.
It's not quite. I don't want people thinking it's right on the lake, the boat, and all that. But you know what? I'm sitting out on the porch. Night's coming and all that. It's nice. And then mosquitoes get pretty big in northern Michigan. They're almost okay. They're birds.
Yeah.
Basically.
You ever seen one carry a baby off? That's what they have.
Like a baby deer. Yeah. And but then I go into the screen in porch and just sitting there and just listening to that. And I get up and there's a deer, two fawns there, a mama deer. I'm like, okay, this is fresh air and stuff. It was nice, and that slept good. Get up early that morning, and Dylan, baby deer, I still see. I'm like, okay, it was a good time. And then I'm all the way up in northern Michigan over by Lake Michigan.
I love it. And I talked with you the other day because I'm coming up to Detroit on Sunday, and you're telling me how much cooler it is.
It is. It went from like in the 80s and 90s to it's in the 70s. I think highs of low 80s while you're here.
I was out with my wife last night, and it was like 9 something. We were coming home, and Phoenix at 9 o'clock at night had cooled down to 110. So
yeah, no, it's less than that. So like in northern Michigan, it would drop into the 60s to 50.
I can't wait for 60s.
Yeah,
I'm so excited. You told me you might want to bring a jacket. I'm like, oh,
just a light one for you because I just think the change will be so drastic for you.
I don't know. Like I used to live in Milwaukee.
And the cottage has been redone. We don't have air conditioning in it, but it was nice. It just had the ceiling fans in the bedroom, had the windows cracked.
Good.
So it was a good sleeping weather. So I enjoyed that part. Found a cold call. We're always talking about, do I cold call? I had a dealer rep ask me, at your stage in career, do you cold call? Up in St. Helen, Michigan, company there. They're already using our product. We're talking about some stuff. So yeah, it was a good deal. And
Yeah.
And then something else happened. We'll talk about it later on. But yeah, so it was different, but
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say to hire some folks. So Brian's here. Good morning. And by the way, he says that his parents just spent the week at Mackinac Island and was telling me how beautiful it's been.
Mm-hmm. And Marshall pronounced it wrong, even though that's the correct spelling. It's called Mackinac Island. So Mackinac Island is.
How come you don't pronounce the C?
I don't know. Ask the American Indians. I have no idea.
So here's how you tell you're not from the area.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There's 1,000 words like that. But Mackinac Island, in case people want to know, is where the Upper Peninsula and Northern Peninsula. There's a bridge there, but in between there's an island there. Some people live on it year round, but it's a tourist destination. No cars are allowed. You take a ferry boat over, and it's bikes or horses and stuff like that. But it's incredible. It's gorgeous. Yeah, I haven't been there since I was a kid, but yeah.
Cindy's here as usual. Good morning. Cindy. And Dean's here also. So good to see
Dean,
you.
how you doing?
Logging in. And then look, who just popped in? Ray. He just sent 350 tribe blends to the island. There you go.
So yeah, and Ray, good to see you. And I'm here since Ray is like 10 miles from me, 8 miles, maybe that's it. So up and
Flint. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you ready to get in it?
Let's do it.
All right. So here's our first topic today, which is growth by acquisition. And so I know some companies, my friend Tom Rowan, he buys lots of companies. He just bought another. And he actually just sold a company too. He sold his limo company, right? So.
Oh, I forgot he had that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was telling me about that the other day. So the reason why I wanted to share this is I saw this come through is that Inktovo bought a company called Clarity, right? And so I looked them up, right? Clarity is a shop floor app. It looks like it's really kind of for the sign industry. And I was just checking out their website and just looking at, how the thing works. Their thing that your website's weird. So anyway, so I was just looking at it, and it's really, because it's based in, pounds and stuff. So this is really, kind of a European thing, right? So
actually, that would make it British.
Yeah. So that's what I meant. So it's like, why would they buy this? Of course, they don't tell us that, right? And we don't know. And so it's kind of like, are they buying this because they want to move overseas? Are they buying this because they like their software better? I mean, what's up with that, right? So it was just very interesting here. And so if you just really kind of look at this, it just looks like, there's underscore, continued commitment to providing business owners the best in class software tailored to industries like signage, graphics, decorated apparel, and promo, blah, 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 blah. Like it's just boilerplate stuff, right? So it's going to be very interesting what they do with this, right? So question, if you're a Printavo user, or Inktovo, sorry, what do you think about this? I mean, is this news to you? Did you get a memo? Did you get something? I just happened to see this kind of going through social media, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And this also sets up not about them, about the idea of buying another business. Like you don't do embroidery and you buy an embroidery company or whatever, right? So just your thoughts on that, Alan, and everybody watching, chime in on what you think about it. I think that would be an interesting discussion for today.
Well, I think we have all seen, if you haven't seen growth by acquisition and you're in the industry, you have been looking, because we've seen a bunch of it. And the screen side, of course, Aviant, which owned, Rutland and Union and Wolflex, and bought all that.
They know everything now.
Yeah, that's kind of there. We've seen the Tubelite Denko merger, and then buying Garston, then Gremco, who bought Midwest and buys all that.
Right.
We've talked about our friend Tom Rowan, but we forget that you can grow by, one of the ways of growing is by acquisition. That's happening a lot. Graphic Solutions, when they bought McBee, when they bought that place in Denver and stuff, it happens.
Right.
You know, but many shops will buy another screen shop because you got to get the right price for it. But there might be, what are you looking for? Are you looking for market share? Are you looking for, you know, is there talent there? Is there equipment? What are the resources that are coming with it? And sometimes it's just you're buying that book of business. And then the other equipment gets sold off or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
So this is more common. And if you're not looking at that as something you're looking to grow, you might want to look around, because that does happen. You know, when it's, you know, we hadn't talked about it in a while, Marshall, but a lot of these places are, I've been doing this, I'm ready to retire, and I'm shocked my kids don't want into it, and there's no exit plan.
Yeah, and what's interesting here, when that happens, they're shocked at how far less their value of their business is than what they think it is. Right?
Oh yeah,
they work for X number of years and whatever, and I think it's worth $10 million, and then nobody's ever going to pay that.
Yeah,
and you start looking at, you know, they don't own any real estate, they don't own any intellectual property or IP, right? Their equipment's paid off, but it's like forever old, and just like, you know, you just start looking at their stuff and looking at their business and looking at who they've been doing stuff for. They don't have contracts or agreements or things, and it's just not worth anything. And when they leave, you can just get all these customers anyway. Right.
Well, and if they're what happens if they're doing real bad financially and real bad, and you think the price is too high, sometimes just go, fine, I'll just wait it on when the business, I'll just pull it anyways.
Yeah. So we got some comments here. So Charles says Grimco is not closing warehouses of some of the locations they acquired when they bought Tube like Denko, maybe others too. Well, that could be just they're consolidating, and you know, they're making it work in their system, and they've done the analytics on it.
And unfortunately, that is happening because they don't need all those places. They have their own places, or they're combining them and building a new one. And unfortunately, I mean, there have been hundreds of people let go.
Yeah, and so this could have actually been in place when they bought the company.
Like, oh, absolutely.
In their brain, this is what we're going to do that, and they're just executing the strategy.
Yeah, and so Charles, I believe there was a Denko office there in New Mexico. I think there's a Denko or a Grumco in Phoenix, maybe. I don't remember, but those are probably it. But yeah, that happens. Unfortunately, in acquisition and mergers, the casualties are people.
Yeah. Dean says acquisitions suck, but are necessary evil sometimes. And once the money comes, it's hard to say no. Customers ultimately benefit from the competitive market, but once one place owns it all, they have too much control. He has mixed feelings about it. And then look at what happens when things go bad, and the multiple entities get the ripple effect.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. Good comment there.
But a lot of places are growing by acquisition. It's not always a bad thing.
So have you ever worked for a company that had that, scenario?
When I worked for Saudi had already bought companies before I was there. And since I left, they bought two. But I've not worked for one that has. I take that back. I lied right there. When I worked for J Products early in my career, they did. We had a branch in Florida, and it was just called Suncoast. And I think there was a small dealer there they absorbed.
So it really wasn't.
I was so young. I didn't. It happened just as I started, so I didn't even pay attention. But nothing that has affected me now that could. Now, could that happen? This stage in the game for me? Oh yeah. I don't think any company is off the block anymore.
Yeah.
Anybody can be acquired by someone bigger. There's always a bigger fish.
Or well, it wasn't. You didn't tell a lie. You just misremembered.
Yeah. things, I had to think on there, go, well, wait on that. And I might be wrong on that. There's a couple people also, from the J product stage still in the industry. If I'm wrong, correct me on that. But I was so young at the time, I didn't even pay attention to it. I've been near it, on some acquisitions. I know some that I thought were going to happen and they fall apart because, the owner thinks it's just, well, I need this much. Well, you're not getting that much.
Right.
It's going to do it. So
and then what happens is that's a downward spiral of doom.
it can be. Yeah. I mean, and Marshall, have you been in it?
That's never happened to me. When I worked for Visual, when I was hired, they told me that they're trying to sell the business. When I was hired, they told me that right off the bat. And so there were people come in all the time and look at the building and whatever, like not all the time, but a couple times a year kind of thing. Yeah. And after I left, they sold out to hit, and so that was not a surprise to me, right? Because I knew that they were trying to do that for a long time, right? And they wanted a particular thing, right? And so they just had to find the right partner to do that with. So.
And you know what? I lied again. Easyway bought a company a couple years ago.
And you lie. Just say, "Hey, I just thought of it." Or just,
I'm a fibber. And it was just we were the people that were making washout boots for us and all that. We just absorbed them, bought them, and so it's part of the Easyway Blue Water family. But nothing that's like affected me directly. But I have seen it in clients where they bought, and sometimes they're big, sometimes they're smaller parts of it. And
So I think the interesting thing, just to circle back with the whole reason we're talking about this, Inktovo buying another software company, right? And I know a lot of people like there's many reasons why the Inktovo Printavo there's some craziness going on there. And I think, does this add fuel to that fire or does it help them? Right. So if they build a better product, does it help stabilize what they're trying to do? Because they're not very, nobody really knows what's going on over there, and the industry doesn't know, and their customers don't know. And if you start talking with folks, there's a lot of misconceptions. And I think that really has hurt them, because I know personally, shop owners have left them because of some stuff, right?
Agreed. Yeah.
And so I don't know where this lands, and I hope all the best for them. I think that kind of thing. I don't wish them any ill will. It's just there's a lot of to quote the guy who wrote Story Brand, Donald Miller. When you confuse, you lose, right? So when there's confusion, people don't know what to expect, right? So.
Right. I think too, the other thing, and I don't know what's going on at Inktovo. I know a couple people there. I don't watch them as much as you do, Marshall. And you.
Well, I just hear things. Like I hear a lot because people are always in my ear about what's not working.
And I never even ask about them. But just with this company being overseas, it's like, okay, what's that market? I mean, does this bring them into an overseas market that they're not in also?
Right. Yeah. Sure. Right.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, and so that's another thing to keep your eye on. like we needed another thing to keep looking out for, right?
Yeah.
Charles has a big comment here. So I think it was a big mistake with the entire Printavo Inksoft merger selling to angel investors. I think they're going in a direction that only really large shops will be able to stay with their platform. And I think they're going in the wrong direction personally. Yeah, there you go. So are you currently a Printavo or Inktovo customer, or have you switched? Because this is exactly what I'm hearing from the folks that I talk to.
Right.
Very curious what you do, Charles. So
yeah,
I think I know, but it's hard. Like I talk to so many people, I can't remember what they do. So yeah, anyway, so that's all good. We'd love to hear everybody else's comments, so make sure you throw that in there. And I want to jump to our next topic. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Do you remember what it was?
No. Oh yeah.
It feels like we're in a weird place.
Yeah.
Right. So the reason why I wanted to throw this out here is because, and Alan and I talk a lot about stuff, right? Not even on the show, just in general.
Right.
And so I feel this industry, there's some segments that are really hurting, like manual equipment presses, that type of stuff. And I know that, and there's some fallout with that. There's some fallout with the different things, but I know some other kind of businesses in this industry are really doing really well, right? And so it just feels weird. It feels like, with the election, with the economy, with stuff, I feel like we're waiting for a shoe to drop, kind of a thing. I know from talking with folks, there's people who are having a really hard time right now. Right. And there's people who are really doing really well right now. And usually it's because of markets they serve more than anything. So it's just kind of a weird spot. And I think this needs to be addressed. So I thought it'd be a really good topic today to kind of throw the red meat out a little bit just to see what happens. Right. So what do you think, Mr. Howe?
Well, I think it is weird because you and I have some opinions that might be different and stuff, but you know what? Both are making good points. I think, I don't know, because I just said, like, when you brought that topic, before you told me the topic, I'm like, I'm in that. I said, there's things I'm very excited about. There's things I'm very optimistic about. There's things I'm concerned about. There's things I have no control over. Right. There's things I don't know what will happen to this. And what about this? And what about this? And so it's up and down always. And I don't get that way. I don't think a lot, but it's been a real weird week. For me on it personally. I think the other thing too is, while I might be doing okay and someone else might be doing okay, someone else isn't. And we see all kinds of it. And then there are things where, all right, things are going well, but are they really going well on there? So one thing, Marshall, I didn't even tell you, I forgot. A buddy of mine is an IT expert, and he deals with a plastics company that has operations in about 8 locations, injection molding, a lot of auto and stuff. Mm-hmm. They're shutting down, or I don't know if it's forever, but on hiatus, 2 plants.
Yeah.
Because the parts they make are for electric cars and they're not selling. And the auto industry has pulled that and stuff. And I'm like, all right, now with that, there's more consumer confidence on something that's mandated, where the confidence goes down. There are people involved with that. And it's like, it's hard sometimes to be positive when we're saying, okay, there's positive things, but then there's not. It's just a very, very weird time.
Yeah, I know. And like we were talking before the show, right? And if you just observe what's around you, just don't listen to anybody. Just you yourself look to see what's happening.
Yeah.
Right? And what do you see where you live? It's different for everybody because we all live in different places, right? What do you see? Do you see people doing things? Do you see people, do you see people struggling? Of course. What are you hearing? What are you hearing from your friends? When you're socially from other business owners, if you're a part of a networking thing or whatever, what are you hearing and where are people struggling and what's going on? And I think there's a lot of people who are struggling to find employees.
Right.
And it's not because, and it's because we have like really low unemployment. Right. And so the people who have people who want a job, a lot of times have a job, right? And so it's how do we get somebody to quit what they're doing and come work for us, right? That's a big challenge right now. And this is in a lot of my coaching clients right now. They're all, I'd say 30% of them are looking for people right now, and they can't fill the slots that they have. And it's a problem, right? So that causes other challenges, right? And I think if we look at sales, like I know from talking with my coaching clients, there's people who are doing really well. There's people who are really struggling. There's people who have had to redo their price lists and they had price increases, and now they're having to come back down a little bit because their price increase that they did put them out of the running for jobs, and they've had to like say, you know what, we're going to have to make less profit right now. So
Right.
they've adjusted, right? And I think this is a market condition more than it is an industry thing. For some folks, other people have raised their prices and they're making record profits. So I mean, it's just, I think it really depends on where you are with stuff. And I know from talking with industry people, equipment sales for new equipment is really hurting. Okay.
So,
I was on the phone with Nicole Pape with Embellisher yesterday. She is blowing up. And so used equipment is going crazy. New equipment, they can't sell, right? So what does that tell you? It tells you that there's economic conditions that are tightening up a little bit. People still need a new to them piece of equipment, but they don't want to pay full price for it.
well, and I think that goes to show, Marshall, it's still about automation. It's still about how you're working smarter, not harder, and to become more profitable. And even we've talked, I remember we said this during COVID, I talked that when these downturns, whether it be a pandemic, a financial crisis, a medical emergency and stuff in your personal life or globally or whatever, at the bottom of the trough, there is opportunity for people, resources, market. And
buy competition out.
Yeah. And that's where that happens. And so with used equipment, people are going, this is where consumer confidence is. I'm not ready to go because of whether it be interest rates, whatever, and finance or buy a brand new piece of equipment. I will run the used one. And because some people are shutting down, the used equipment market is flooded.
Yeah. She's telling me that, the 810 press, right?
Yep.
She can't keep them in stock.
Yep.
Okay. So what's happening is there's shops that are really busy. They need another press. They need whatever, but they don't want to pay full price. They'll go used. And it's so there's that, right? And so what does that tell us? That to me, it tells us that in some segments, some corners, right, people have lots of work because they need more capacity, right? And you know what they're not buying is they're not buying a manual.
The other thing is they need more capacity now, and I think the fear I'm pulling the trigger, whether used or new, is going, how long will this be? Am I going to pull it? And then, because again, are we waiting for the other shoe to drop? Just because, right. That's where it makes it a weird time.
Yeah. So some comments. Charles was with Inktobo or Printavo for 10 years, and they just recently switched to YoPrint. That's great. So Charles, YoPrint, I was talking with those guys at the last show, or maybe the 2 shows ago, right? And they seem to be doing really well. And it's very interesting. How do you like that software?
I've not heard of them. So
YoPrint was started by 2 guys. One's a Microsoft dude. The other was a Google dude. There's 2 like really smart, nerdy people.
They were at
they're at all the shows, right?
Yeah, they were at Long Beach.
Yeah, well, they go to all the shows.
Yeah, and they were at Atlantic City. I mean,
yeah. So they're there, right? So you should go introduce yourself. They're really engaging, smart people. I think they have about, I want to say 300 or 400 shops now, right? So they're getting in there, right? So that's really good. So would love to hear your comments. Sean says, good afternoon. Good seeing you.
Back to YoPrint. So this is online stores, the whole thing?
I think I don't know if they do online stores. I think it's just a shop system. So,
got it.
I'm not an expert with that platform. So
that's okay. Hey, Sean, how you doing?
Yeah. Dean says, weird is right. The whole U.S. is in a weird spot. That seems across the board. Politics are overflowing. And by the way, we don't want to go there. Into all aspects of life, etc. Very bizarre times. And Dean says, I feel like most everyone and so many businesses are just in survival mode of action.
Yeah, and while we don't get political on here, it is like our whole government. It's in a weird time for everybody, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. It's just weird.
Yeah, and
it just adds to the weirdness of everything else. It doesn't help. Yeah,
I think everybody wishes there was a switch that we could just make it better.
Where is the reset button? I'm looking for that. Turn off this computer. Let's restart.
There's no reset button. Yeah. And so how I approach stuff I can only control me, and I can only control how I respond to things. That's it. That's the only thing I can control. Everything else is out of my control. And so I know that if I put the work in, I know that if I control how I respond and how I do things, I have a better shot of making things happen for me because I am innovating and being proactive with what I can do. Mm-hmm. Right? That's how I think about stuff. And I don't know if anybody feels that way, but that's kind of my mentality with stuff. And I've been doing that for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I don't worry about anybody else but me. Right. And it seems really selfish, but that's how I feel and think. Yeah. So, all right. And then Dean says, can we turn it on and off again or hit it with a hammer?
Yeah. Something. Exactly.
Yeah. That's old school registration system is called a carpenter hammer, right?
A couple different weights of them.
Mm-hmm. So like, I feel like we've seen this movie before, right? If you've been in this industry long enough, you're like, this feels like a rerun, right? Does this feel like 2008 and 9? Does it?
No, it feels different to me.
Does it feel different?
Different. It feels like I've never felt like this before in the 37 years.
It doesn't feel like post-COVID where everybody's just like, doom and gloom all day, right? It just feels.
No. This is different. This is weird.
Yeah. So anybody has advice about how not to feel weird? Maybe some tequila.
Say margaritas.
Yeah, I'll have a margarita.
Yeah.
With a little Grand Marnier float. That's how I like them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dean says, all things aside, perseverance and optimism pays off.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's hit the third topic, which I can't remember what it was. All right, here you go. There's always something that you don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And so Alan and I were talking earlier, and he started telling me a story, and that's where I came up with this headline. Right. So can you share the story? Or is that like you don't want to review?
No, I can share the story. We, sometimes I think, as we're looking for customers, as you're looking for opportunities, we think we know we have a handle on our own industry, on our own market, on our own deal. And I have been covering, this Michigan, Ohio, especially Ohio, some Michigan, some, and all that for a lot of years. And it's not unusual for an account that I haven't heard from them, but everybody else has that. Okay, I've not been there.
Yeah.
Very rarely comes up where we get a lead or something from someone and nobody knows anything about it. We get in our corporate office an email from a company that says, hey, this haze remover is the best, yada, yada, yada. Thank you very much. The office calls me, never heard of them. Tells me where they're at in Michigan, never heard of it. We look it up. It's a glass printer. They print wine glasses and stuff. And they're using a competitive product. How they found us was from a dealer that isn't even in their area. They don't cover that glass market. And that glass market's different. I know it. I've been into some of the bigger ones and stuff. But the weird thing is we get an appointment set. I go up and I see them. And this was just yesterday. And I'm on this road and I'm going, this is right by this big printer, graphic printer. Their production shop, when they screen printed and they're all digital now, is right there. And I said, man, this is going to be right up by where their corporate offices are. And in front of this printer's corporate office, there is a company that is a textile printer. And, the GPS on my car is sitting there going 100 feet away. And it's right there. It's this textile company. I'm like, tell me it's not them. And they're doing this glass thing and stuff. And I've been in this shop before, not a lot. They use our products. They just, you just don't get in there a lot. I stopped by even there, and they're not as open as a lot of shops. What it is this company behind them. It is in front of the administrative building of this big graphics company and right behind this textile shop. I have been in the parking lot there probably over 100 times, especially in the last 6 years, over 100, 150 times in that parking lot. And it's this building has no signage, nothing. They stay incognito. Who knew? There had been no way.
Yeah.
I would have went up there. And I figured it was probably a storage building for, the banner company or something like that. Not a clue.
Yeah.
We set the appointment. It goes great.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't know where business is at. There's always something we don't know.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times we have to, and this is what I wanted to say about this,
Mm-hmm.
is that we have to have our head up and be looking for opportunities. And this could, or it could be listening to people. Like, you might have, like I was telling you, I had an employee who just kind of like started to self-destruct. Yeah. And I was like, hey, what's going on with you? And it turns out that her mom had cancer, right? And she wasn't sleeping and all this stuff, right? And so that's what I didn't know, right? And so, like, a lot of times we react to things, and I think sometimes our brain fills in some details that aren't true about a situation or something. And then what we need more than anything is more information.
Right.
And so this could be about a decorating technique that you don't know. This could be about a customer, like in your case, that you didn't know that even existed. Yep. This could be about your employees or a customer or whatever, right? It could be anything, right? There's things that we don't know. And so what are we doing to understand this stuff on purpose, right? And I think that really is the opportunity that's worth discussing here. Where, right. What don't you know? Like, how do you do it or whatever? There's always, you can always learn, right? And I think that helps you kind of understand things better. You just have to do stuff. And I've got a really funny story that just happened to me a couple days ago. Do you want to hear it? You don't even know this.
Go ahead.
So I have not been happy with my webcam for a long time, and it makes the one I was using makes my head look really white, like the top of my head. It just whatever. And so Amazon Prime Day was the other day, and I bought a little LED light that I can control the temperature of the light. And I'm like, let's see if this works. And it was $15, $20, whatever it was. So it came in, and I was setting it up, and my wife walks in and she goes, "What are you doing?" I told her what I was doing. And these lights I have above me, it just makes me look washed out when I'm on the camera. And she goes, "Well, your light's dim. There's a little slider right here."
There's what?
The light's dim. There's a little tiny little knob underneath the light switch. Now, the light switch I have is like the panel kind, not like the toggle, right?
Right.
And so right underneath that, there's this little slider bar that you can go back and forth. I've never seen it ever. Right? Ever. And so we adjusted the lighting in here, and and so the light's a little lower, right? And now my screen pops up, which is reflecting my glasses, so I got to figure that out. But it's like one of these things where I didn't know that, even though it's right here in front of me.
Right.
There's always things that you don't know, right? And let me tell you how much my wife enjoyed making me feel stupid, right? So, But I think it's a good story because it illustrates the fact that things are in front of you right now, like your customer that's in the same parking lot, and you just don't know, right? And so, what are we doing about that on purpose? And like I could have looked at the light switch closer, right? I just didn't, right?
Right.
So I think it's okay when you discover this stuff. Sometimes it makes you feel like, gosh, how come I didn't know that, right? I didn't know I had a dimmer switch in my on the switch panel, right? So,
Yeah.
it's all good. Um, Hurley's here. Hey, Chris, good seeing you. I learned that my day-to-day screens are extremely easier to create versus huge screens. Same exact process, but on a bigger scale. Not so much. I'm having a heck of time dialing it in. It's like I'm a noob all over again.
Well, one, I've seen you doing that screen, and there's a bunch of it. You don't have a vacuum frame big enough. You're trying to use film. And also, did you try to expose that in the sunlight, which is uncontrollable? And so you were asking for 1,000 variable problems and also high density, which is going to be rough on it.
Yeah.
So I watched a little bit. I'm thinking, oh, I would not even want to be trying that. So, you can. The sun is the best exposure unit in the world. The problem is that you just can't control it at all.
Is it a cloudy day or not? Right.
Well, and even on that, the UVs will come through because remember, emulsion exposes by UV. It doesn't expose by brightness, but it will expose. But the few times I've used the sun, when I first showed it, we actually had it a big screen in a vacuum frame. We had a black sheet over it, and I was early 20s, and the sales guy says, "Okay, get your watch and let's go this long." Now it was a diazo emulsion. We lift it, time it, bam, done. And it was fine. But you had to have that vacuum to keep that positive against it, or the light's going to get all through it. So, right. Chris, I mean, God bless you for doing it, but I'm watching it. Maybe it's just the old man in me shaking my fist that the kids get off my lawn going, I wouldn't do it. But yeah.
Yeah. So John says, we just started printing skate decks, and I learned to have to make everything up and figured it all by myself, starting all over from the beginning and learning new things. I think there's probably other people who've printed skateboards.
There are people that print skate decks. But, one of the things is that curve there and how do you get it? So sometimes that's where you use less tension. It's so weird. It's one of the few times.
Right. He says, yep, 100%. The sun is making me pull my hair out.
Yeah.
Right. So. That's interesting. All right, here you go. When I can't do something, it makes me try harder. Yeah.
Well, and I always see, and I get frustrated. The technical guy in me is that we try to do something, but then you don't have the right tools to do it correctly, and it just makes it harder.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's always about playing with stuff and learning.
That's the DIY part of screen printing that I don't like it. I don't enjoy it.
So Cindy says, put a big piece of glass or a couple pieces with weights on top, then use your light source with a timer.
Yeah, still not good enough with the weights on it because that film will still pull up.
I'm a farm boy. I make the tools I can't get.
Yeah, exactly. But you didn't make them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool.
I will argue this point all the time, so there's no sense.
Yeah. We got one last topic, right, which is point counterpoint article, right? So I wanted to share this because we haven't yet. So I wrote there's 2 articles here. This is in Screen Printing Magazine. So I did a pro thing about AI image creation, and Andy McDougall wrote one on the other side where it's the devil. Okay. And I think both sides are worth talking about, right? And you might say, well, Marshall, why are you defending Andy's point of view? Because I think Andy's point of view is valid, right? So there's artists out there who feel marginalized. They feel like AI is taking over unjustly. They feel like it's not the right way to go because they've worked their whole life creating. And I totally respect and 100%, they have a great point of view. And my point of view is, if you don't want to use AI, don't use it. Okay.
Right.
Their point of view is nobody should have it. It's evil, right? And so I feel that that's just a little misleading and wrong, right? And so the article here, and I suggest that you look it up. It's in this month's, screen printing thing. It's called AI Image Duration Pros, right? And so I lay everything out, and then I also have 5 or 6 folks share some work that they've done, and then why they like using it, right? So here's Adam's, here's Sarah's, here's Dan Campbell's, here's Heather Stribel's, right? And then here's John Anderson's, right? And then so what's really interesting here is that Andy, which is click, I should have already done this, but here's his part, right? And then he is using one of his friends, which is what's the dude's name? I forgot. It's is Jared. What is his name?
I don't know.
Forget the guy's name. Where's the stuff? It's Jared Gerald. That's right, Gerald. And so he's talking about his point of view, right? And I think it's really valid. The guy's an artist. He's a painter. He doesn't want to use AI. He's made a whole entire career from his artistic viewpoint. Mm-hmm. And that's just fantastic. Will image AI hurt skilled artists, right? We don't know yet. It's so early, right? But I do know that if you operate with an ethical standpoint, like AI can really help you make very easily some things that you shouldn't be doing, okay? Before AI, people would scour the internet for stuff and copy and use that and do it their own way, right? Plenty of people have done that, right? And is it right? No. Should it happen? No. Do people do it anyway? Yes. Okay. With AI, it just makes that so much easier. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I think that's a big challenge, and that needs to be addressed. And I'm totally against that part of it. I don't use different artist names in my any of the AI stuff that I generate, right? But I do use it, and I do appreciate it. I do think it makes your art department more productive and more profitable, because we can do and finish jobs faster and then get on to the next thing. Absolutely. That's a valid part of it, right? So I think here Andy has a really great point. I love what he wrote. There's also a whole video interview that that he shares. So I highly encourage you guys to check this out. Read both, and then what do you think about it? Also, if you're using AI, right, and this could also be ChatGPT, I guess, if you're using AI in your business, what do you think about it? How are you using it? What is your viewpoint on this topic, right? And I think this is worthy of a really great discussion. And I think everybody has a viewpoint, right? And I'd like to know how everybody stands on that. So what do you think, Alan?
Well, I think and I haven't read either of the articles, but I know you and I know Andy McDougall. Andy, we've had on the show. And if you don't know him, Andy McDougall is a master at poster printing. He is an Academy member with Marshall and I and Richard, and a great guy. I think from just looking at that, the first thing I see is two different markets. If you're the master artist, people are paying for your art and your handcrafted detail. And that's what they're doing. If he's, it'd be like Kaza, could he recreate a Picasso, some of these artists in AI? Sure. At the time it wasn't around, but they're gonna do the thing to make it true as can be. Now it's different if your market is, if XYZ person comes in and says, Marshall, I need 250 shirts. Here's the deal. It's corporate. It's this. We have a logo, but I want something more. We make I don't know, Duma Flitchets. And then all of a sudden you're creating, instead of hand sketching like you would do, you are creating it. It's getting you to that. And the customer right then, you can start going like this, almost like that. I need it facing left to right, right to left. I need this less, more animated or more this or more whatever. And you are instantly getting to the place and having customer service from a custom view.
Yeah.
I think you have to look at what your market is and what your niche is. My point of view of, I'm not an artist. I'm not, doing that. I do think on AI too, we have to be careful because we're into another realm, like we were around print and demand. Just because the computer creates it and it might look like Harley and I didn't do it, AI did it, you are still responsible for what you printed, and you will get busted.
Yeah.
For copyright.
So here's the thing. Like, Heather did this using Midjourney, and as you know, she does a lot of Jeep stuff, right? Yeah. So this is something that she created, and she talks about how she did it and how it saved her a bunch of time and all that, right? And then this is the print, right? So this is Gerald Tidwell's. He's got a pencil sketch of this hot rod, right? So this took, a really long time to draw. Look how intricate that is, right? So
it's incredible. It's not taking
incredible, and there's nothing. And I think this is fantastic, right?
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to pay him for all of that time, this is thousands of dollars worth of art.
Right.
Okay. This is the reality. This is a screen printing shop that's got a deadline that needs to get some art done for a customer so they can sell some shirts. Can they afford thousands of dollars worth of art? Probably not. Right. And so this is the reality. This is a tool that makes your art department a profitable thing because we can design with a few steps, 1 or 2 iterations to show, here's a Jeep this way, here's a Jeep this way. Mr. Customer, which one you like the best?
Right.
Because it's just a matter of moments to do it, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's what I think is the power of using this tool. Can Gerald Tidwell do 2 of these and let his customers pick which one he likes the best? Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 weeks. And so this has tremendous value and will always have value as long as somebody's willing to pay for it. The fear, and I totally appreciate the fear, is that because of this, it's so easy that this is going to affect how much this is worth. Okay. And that's a completely valid argument, right? I have no control over that.
Right.
But I do know that because this is frictionless, right? And of course, by the way, getting an image that looks the way that you want it isn't as easy as you think it is. Okay. Just so you know, it takes a minute to figure this stuff out. What happens is you can get to a place you can do something much easier, and then we can make our customers happy. I think both of these are completely valid points, right? And I appreciate everybody's point of view, but there's reality here that we have, right? I'm sure chefs, professional chefs, really hate microwaves. Okay? Sometimes you just want some Orville Redenbacher microwave popcorn.
Yep.
Yeah. Can you get a pot? Can you put the oil in it? Can you put some bacon grease in it? Can you put your popcorn kernels in it? And can you make bacon flavored popcorn that's gourmet? You can.
Yep.
Okay. If you want to take the care to do that, that's fantastic. But sometimes you just want it. We just need it now.
Or you can do Jiffy Pop.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, okay? Absolutely.
And so, I think this is a way that we can get to where we want to go faster, right? Mm-hmm. Is this better than this? I don't know. It's a hot debate. Right?
What does the customer want? What's the time frame?
What's the customer want? What's the customer willing to pay for? Right? Even if AI didn't exist, customers might not be able to pay for this. And that's a fact.
Marshall, here's the other thing. Without the right drilling down to what the customer is looking for, you could have went through all that trouble to do that in time use, and they're going, no, I just need a hand-drawn quick car, an animated car. Oh,
yeah.
I just need a speed buggy type car.
Okay, so I come from art background, as you know, right? And I've done tons of stuff where you make this masterpiece thing and give it to the client, and they don't like it, and it's because you didn't listen to them, or they didn't give you all the facts, or whatever the reason is, and you got to do the whole thing over. Okay, 100%. And let me tell you what just a giant sucky feeling that is. Okay, so I don't know. I feel that right now, Midjourney's only been out for 2 years, roughly. I've been using it about a year and a half or so. So like, it's so new. We don't know how we're going to be using this yet, because it just was really just invented. I feel like and of course it just gets getting better, right? We're currently, I'm a big Midjourney fan. We're on Midjourney version 6. Okay. What's 12 going to be like?
Yeah.
They're constantly improving things. Okay. So I just think it's just a really interesting thing. And so anyway, I think that's something I just wanted to share. The article's out. I highly encourage you guys to read it. And this is, screen printing magazine. This is my column, the Marshall Plan. So,
right.
And you might know some of these people, right? So these are artists that are all over the country, right? And this is their work that they did, right? So this is their take on how they use it, how much time it saves them, and all that. And I think it's, when we look at stuff like this, I think it's really important, and this could be about really anything, right? I think it's important to get both sides, be neutral, try to understand it, and how can I use it? What can I do with this, right? Does it make sense for me? And just evaluate it on your own terms. And I think instead of getting into the hyperbole, don't listen to me because I'm super enthusiastic about it, right? I want people to do it because I really see the power, right? But I think the other side of you, where this might not be right, this might not be ethical, this might hurt living artists who are creating and developing things with their mind, that is completely valid also, right?
Yeah.
So I that's kind of like my take on things, right? So anyway, all right, what's going on with this? This is, I got like I was am I? Can you see me? I'm having some connection issues.
Here, let me move it.
I'm trying to get off the screen and go back to the 2-shot, and it's not connecting. I'm still on the show, right?
Yeah, it's not. You're still there, Marshall.
Hey, can you click to the 2-shot and get off the thing for me? Because it's not clicking.
Like that.
Yes. Thank you. So anyway, and I wanted to share Charles's quote. It's not it's not letting me click. I don't know what the problem is. So I think
I can hear Charles's quote.
It's my internet. So sorry. Right?
There we are.
All right. So AI is just a transition tools that some people will hate because it makes it easier for someone that doesn't have the same level of skill, just like equipment. Some people hate DTF. Whoop! What happened?
I don't know. I think it just worked for you.
My click from 5 minutes ago clicked, right? Yeah. Some people hate DTF because it makes it easier for people unskilled in screen printing to do the job. Exactly. People resist change and growth, but it's going to happen. Right? Yep. That's great viewpoint there, Charles. And I know that you've expressed that before. I've heard your viewpoint on that. So,
Cindy did post ahead of that. We were talking about the screen on there. We do this for our big signs at work. And Cindy, I'm not saying it won't work on there.
Yeah.
When you're doing a big sign which has very little detail and stuff, absolutely. Your undercutting is not going to show and stuff like that. But my thing is what Chris is working with, I believe, is a little more detailed and high density. And when you can't control the sunlight on a thicker stencil like that, you're going to start getting funneling on down and undercutting. That's going to affect, which is, I think, part of the problem he's having. So I'm not, and I probably said it a little bit too rougher that, yeah, I just wouldn't do it and all that, but no, it does work, and I've done it. So yes, I'm not doubting you at all.
Right. Good stuff. Good stuff. So just to wrap up here, excited about coming to Michigan this weekend, and it's going to be fun. See you guys, see some shops, do some stuff. Right, that's going to be great.
Yeah.
Tomorrow looks like I'm going to be in the pool, hanging out a little bit. So that's going to be fun, right? So, and I was looking. College football practice starts next week.
I thought it started some of it. Oh, I guess practice didn't start.
Off season. I'm talking real practice.
Yep.
Starts next week. And let me tell you how excited I am for next year. Can't wait. Absolutely can't wait. And I know I'm setting myself up for big disappointment, but I can't wait. So, anyway.
All right.
So, Alan, I want you to click the end the show because I don't trust my.
I will do that. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for always watching all that. Some of you, Charles, Cindy, Chris, man, you're always here. Really appreciate it, Dean. Make sure if you haven't subscribed, share, like this, because it's without you. We're trying to bring that up there.
Yeah.
If you haven't, Marshall House Shirt Lab Live, I signed up. I just got hotel.
Oh, can you share the link to that?
Yeah, let me, if I can find it. I just thought about that.
On the banners thing. There's a,
Yep. Right there.
So, yeah, go to Shirt Lab Live. If you're interested in learning how to do anything with your art department.
Yep.
So this is art workflow using Midjourney, like we're just talking about. But mainly, the main part of the day is going to be learning how to use Photoshop and separate with channels. So this doesn't have to be a 10-color monstrosity. This could just be 2 colors, okay? You're going to learn how to use Photoshop, convert that file to channels so you can separate any file. And here's the thing is everybody thinks you have to have vector files. Totally a myth. You just don't know how to do the separation, right? Mm-hmm. So we're learning how to do this. So shirtlablive.com. This is our Shirt Lab Nashville event. It's going to happen August the 9th and 10th. The hotel block ends on the 22nd, right, which is Monday, right? So if you want to stay at the hotel that everybody's staying in, that's the Renaissance. It's 2 block walk to the venue that we're going to, right? So you don't even need a rental car. That block ends on Monday, so be sure to sign up. And we would love to see you there. It's going to be an amazing thing. This is going to be a bring your laptop. We're giving you the assignments. By the way, we've been having an issue with trying to get our venues for the dinners and stuff. I got the contract for the restaurant right here in my printer. I printed it right before the show. I got to return it. We're having an amazing dinner at this place called Black Rabbit. It's going to be lots of fun Saturday night. So please get signed up if you're interested in that. You're going to really learn a lot. And the teachers are me, okay, Dan Campbell and J.G. McCampbell.
Yep.
Both are legends in this industry. Between the 3 of us, we figured it out. We're just under like 100 years. For the 3 of us, I think we're like 96, 97 years in the industry, right? So it's going to be great, and you're going to learn a lot. And the stuff that you're going to learn isn't being taught anywhere.
Right.
This is not stuff that you just see this in a magazine. You just see this in some video. No, you're not seeing this, right? Because I'm teaching how I do it. Dan's teaching how he does it. JJ's teaching how he does it. All 3 are correct and valid. So imagine all that industry knowledge coming at you. And what happens is we're going to give you a file and show you how to do it. And you're going to be working on it in class with the people walking around helping you get to the destination, right?
Yeah.
So this is a real opportunity for somebody that either you, if you do the art, or maybe your artist to learn. We're there's only 36 spots, and I think we're at 32 right now. So you need to sign up is what I'm trying to get at, right? So oh, hey, Eric's here. Hey, Eric, good seeing you. So all right, guys.
Eric says Daton Dance is as good as it get. It is.
It's a good get.
Charles says that's a great class. And are you going to be there, Charles? Here's the question. We miss you.
Yeah. Right.
Charles sending me an email. No problem, man. We'll see what we can do.
All right, fellas. Thanks for watching, and you too, Cindy. I just
yeah.
I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great week, everyone.